Hey guys, this is Chris, aka the Faithful Driver for LoveCarReviews.com. Today I'm going to be doing a review of quite a special car. It's one that, you know how they say you should never meet your heroes, or you should always meet your heroes, or something about heroes? This is one of those cars that I've liked for a very, very long time, and I've just never ever, for some reason it's always evaded me. Probably partly because of the price, but also for some reason I've just never had a chance to actually drive one or own one. And what I'm talking about here is the G63. So this is a 2020 4-litre V8 Mercedes G63 AMG. Now, it's a car that I've liked for probably about 20-ish years, give or take a few. And in that form it was a G55. It was an amazing looking car. I know some people, it's kind of Marmite, right? It's you love it, you hate it. That's literally it. There's no in between with that car. I ask people, they're like, oh my god, it's an amazing car, it looks great, it's muscular, it's whatever else. Some people it's like, oh, that's a disgusting, boxy, no design, whatever. So it really is a car that for me, it's been a love. It's just, I like the way it looks, I love the way it sounds. Every time you hear one go by, you kind of stop and listen. And it's like, every single time. Some cars you look at, sometimes you don't. This is one car that I've always stopped, always looked at. Every time one goes by, I'm just watching it go. So, with the help of Smart Wheel Motors, about 3-4 weeks ago, I actually finally had the chance to actually sit in one, drive one, and actually I'm here to do a quick review on what I thought of it in terms of, you know, my hero, my G63. Finally, the day had come. So let's get into it in terms of what I actually thought. So firstly, so we had a bit of about an hour out with the car. So we took it along the motorway, did a little bit of country driving, mainly motorway, had a look around the car, had a chance to actually sit, drive, adjust and everything else. So I guess first up, kind of first impressions, kind of practicality, comfort, that sort of thing. What do I think? And it's good. It is very good. I mean, it's a very comfortable driving position. Now, one of the things I always moan about, is one of my bugbears, is that cars like that, you sit a little bit more upright than I like to sit generally. So whereas I guess in my C63s or the Cayenne or other cars such like that, you're quite kind of like that, lay back a little bit, legs up a little bit, you know, it's quite a comfortable seating position for me personally. I like my legs to be a bit straighter. With the G-Wagon, the first thing you notice is that you're like, similar to the Range Rover, you are quite upright, so you are sitting a little bit more upright. You can recline a bit, but you are generally quite upright, and the steering position is like kind of that, a little bit more than it is like this. So that's kind of, I guess, observation number one. It is very comfortable, it is a nice position, and one of the amazing things is you've got an armrest. It's just the way your arm sits along that door sill. It's the widest door sill ever. It's got the windows on there and a few other switches. And it just feels very comfortable, very natural, and it's very easy to just drive it in that kind of position. So that was kind of first observation. The seating position is good. Not exactly how I like it, but still very, very comfortable. More so than I thought it would be actually given the upright position. So that's kind of first thing out the way. Now comfort-wise, the seats, again, very, very comfortable, very kind of, not too far off what I'm sitting on now in terms of my chair. Very comfortable, very padded. Quite the usual adjustments that you expect from Mercedes-Benz, nothing different there. Got your memory seats on the right hand side there as well. So again, all set up in very typical standard Mercedes fashion. So I think big tick, practicality and comfort, it is there. Now the next big thing, and the obvious thing that people are going to want to know, is performance and handling. So what is this car actually like on the road? Because for all the reviews that I've seen, all the things that I've heard, it's fast. It is probably faster than it should be for a car of its size and its weight. It's on the handling side, obviously it's not something you want to throw around the corner at all kinds of speeds. But again, this was kind of the newer, improved 2020, 4-litre V8 version. And what Mercedes have said is they've made a lot of changes to the handling, to the way it maneuvers and everything else, just to make it a little bit more rigid, a little bit more stable, a little bit more, give you a bit more confidence on the road that you're not going to go spinning into a bush somewhere or flip onto your roof every time you try and take a corner at a little bit of speed. So on the motorway, so we got a chance to open it up a little bit, obviously within the legal speed limit, but got a chance to open it up. I wasn't doing anything crazy in terms of switching lanes or anything, but as and when we were, I was trying to get a feel for how it maneuvers on the road, how it feels. Do you feel all that weight behind it, or does it feel a little bit more nimble, given that it's got a really good engine, really good power output, and they've done a lot of changes to make it a bit wider in terms of the track and everything else than its predecessor. And I've got to say, I mean, it feels good. It just goes. It goes and it goes. It's got oodles and oodles of power. It's one of those things though, when you're sitting in there, because you're in an upright position as well, you know you're not in a race car. You know you're in something that should be driven with a bit of caution, and it is a very comfortable car to drive. So you've got that in the back of your mind as you're putting your foot down and seeing the speedometer just kind of lift up, or rather digital's numbers going up. And you just hear numbers go and go and go, like it doesn't feel quite right, but it's good. I mean, it's stable. That I didn't feel any time that the car was off its pace, off its track or anything else. Switched lanes quite a few times, and again, the car was flat. Very stable. I know people would argue that it might flip a little bit at the top, but again, it was pretty stable. It was on the road. I didn't have any concerns about changing lanes quickly or anything else, that it was going to go anywhere other than where I wanted it to go. So again, performance wise, no complaints from my side. As I said, didn't get a chance to take it through the bushes or take it through off-road or anything like that, or any country lanes. So I didn't really get a chance to really do that. But it's not really what the car's for. It's for kind of picking up pace along long stretches of road, autobahns, motorways, etc., highways. And that it does very well. For a car of its size, shape, it kind of defies, I guess, the laws of physics in that it shouldn't do what it can do. But it keeps a smile on your face, for sure. Now, the other categories we normally cover on Love Cars are things like reliability and running costs. Because this is just a test drive that we did, it was just kind of 1 hour with the car, I won't cover those in any detail. But from a reliability perspective, I mean, the G-Wagon's been going since, I think, as long as I've been going, which is from 1979. And I think from a from reliability side, I think it's there. Now, the car works. It's Mercedes, usual Mercedes fashion, or current Mercedes fashion. Now they've got back into their standards, and it feels good. My only little, I guess, gripe or bugbear will be when you close the doors. Now, in the SQ7, in the Cayenne, in the C63, and all the other cars I've had, you close the door and it's got a bit of weight behind it, and you get more of a very, weighty, sure sound. Now, with the G-Wagon, you close the doors and you get a bit of a slight tin can sort of sound, which was a little bit disconcerting. That was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a little bit off, but it doesn't really affect anything in terms of overall the actual package that you're getting. But that was one thing. The only other thing, that come to mind, was the locking mechanism. So obviously, for most cars, modern cars, you go over a certain speed and the doors lock automatically. That's great. That's good. That's what it's supposed to do. It's secure. We live in London. You're probably going to need that. Now with the G-Wagon, for whatever reason, the mechanism sounds like someone's loading a gun or just cocked a gun. It's just very, very loud. And it just makes you stop every single time. You know it's coming, but you stop and like, oh, what's that? Kind of thing. That's kind of how it is. It's just a very clunky sound. And that was my other bugbear with the car. But those aside, can't really say much. Now running costs, again, it is you got to remember, it is almost 200, near £1,000 car. And it's a 4-litre V8 in a 2 to 3 ton car. It's not gonna be cheap. But again, it's one of those cars that if you have to ask, as they say, you know how it goes. But I think it's a car that when people have it, you get it for a reason. You get it because it's, you know, cool, it's fast, it's comfortable, whatever else. It's generally why people get it. Will you take it off-road? Yeah, probably not too often. Some might. If you're out in Saudi or Qatar or Dubai or something, you might take it off-road, you might take it through wherever you want to go. In London, generally you're going to run it as a day car through central London, looking good, that type of thing. So it's a slightly different affair from that perspective. Now next up is around looks and style. And again, this is where I think the G-Wagon comes into its own. Either I love it or I hate it. And as I said before, that's probably the only two camps you have with this car. There really is no middle ground, because it is very bold in terms of its looks. It's very boxy, very square. There are zero curves that I can think of, apart from around the actual round lights. Probably the only curves I can really find on the car. And they've actually now managed to round off the corners very, very slightly, so you've got a little bit more character to it. But apart from that, it's a box on wheels. That's what you get with the G-Wagon. Now somehow, I love that box. I don't know why. Again, same camp. Why do all the people love that box? I don't know. But it's just a nice, chunky, meaty, military-looking car. And put that on 22, 23-inch wheels like they have now, and it just works together. You know, black or grey with, you know, big chrome wheels. It just looks good. It looks meaty. It looks chunky. It looks really nice. And this one had the extra urban kit as well, so just had those little extra kind of bits that made it look just very, very meaty, very chunky. So looks wise, I think it's great. And even the style. Now what they've done is, I think on all previous models, the interior has always been, I'll say, past generation C-Class. So what I always found, every time I sat in one, I was looking at my C-Class, because I love C-Classes. You've probably seen my videos, I had a load of C-Classes. So I was always looking at past generation C-Class interiors, and I'm like, well, for a car this much, I shouldn't be looking at an old interior from an old car. Now, I think now with this new model, they've kind of taken things a little bit further. They've actually looked at it again maybe from the ground up, and they've given it its own interior this time around, not from the old C-Class parts bin. So I think that's definitely looking a lot sharper, looking a lot neater, looking a lot crisper. It's got the big screens and everything. So yeah, it's definitely looking good from that perspective. I think it's about time they did modernize it and kind of bring it up to speed with the actual look of the car itself, because it is a modern car now. They have modernized it. It is right up there with the latest additions. So it did deserve its own actual interior, which I'm hoping, Mercedes, you keep going from now on and just keep those things up to date as you go along. Now, generally the last category I cover off is features and technology. And again, I was only in the car for about an hour, didn't really get a chance to actually get into all of that, so that's why we went for another video. If they let me have the car again, I can do another feature looking just at features and technology, and I'll be happy to do that. But then the question really is, would I recommend this car? And that's a tricky one, because driving it, I mean, we've got the SQ7 at home, we drive that day to day. It's a great car. Again, 4-litre V8 as well. Obviously that's diesel, this was petrol. But I've got all the creature comforts in the SQ7. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's smooth, it's driving position exactly where I want it to be. So on paper, it's actually the better car. But then, again, that G63, there's something about it that just makes it special. And I kind of get it. I mean, when people look at it, I'm like, that's £200,000 for a car that has tin doors. But when you sit in there and you drive it, and it just the way it goes, the way it defies gravity and everything else, you're like, I want one. Couldn't explain to anyone why I want one in logical terms that make sense at that kind of price tag, but I know I want one. And I think getting out of the car, you kind of shut the door and you're like, oh, that's a big old car. Looking at it next to my SQ7, again, it towers over my SQ7. I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's a big, chunky, heavy, whatever car. But I want one. And I still wanted one. Getting out of that car afterwards, knowing that I'm getting back into my SQ7, which technically is the better car, I still have this on my list. I still get it because it's just a cool, fun car. The performance, the sound, everything else is just, they made it. I think Mercedes has done a good job of making something that touches that kind of nerve that says, I just like that car, you know. It's just one of those things. There's some stuff out there you look at, you're like, oh, that's hideous. You know, you get Versace shoes that are gold and bling and diamonds and everything else, and people look at it and say, I want those shoes. And you're like, God, what's wrong with you? I think this is one of those cars, and it is a great car. I mean, if you get to drive one, if you get to own one, if you have owned one, by all means, leave some comments. Let us know what you think, thought, whatever else. But it's definitely one of those things you just have to try. See what you think about it, see how you feel about it, and yeah, leave any comments, any suggestions, anything else, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much, all.